All right, so Tommy White, big Tommy Tanks, has decided to take his talents elsewhere as he enters the transfer portal. NC State cannot take another blow. We thought all week we were going to get some positive vibes for the Wolfpack, but apparently not, as Tommy has decided to transfer. We also have this conversation about all of the NBA draft entries, people who decided to stay, people who decided to come back to college. But could an NC State player take his talent somewhere other than Raleigh? Whoo, I love a good tease. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's edition of Locked On ACC. I'm your host, Keenis Cooper, joined by Drizzy Drake here every Freestyle Friday. We want to make sure that you guys have great content each and every day that you listen. And we are in summer mode, so we got 3 times a week, but there's still going to be 3 good episodes for you. Thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We also have housekeeping, mailbag. If you have questions that you want to ask Locked On ACC throughout the summer, please send them in, whether it's via Twitter, you can see our handles down there, or you can hit us up on YouTube, where we want you to subscribe. Drizzy Drake, how we feeling? Hola, mi gente.
¿Qué le pasa a mi gente? Solamente todo bien por aquí, pero everything is good right now. We're all preparing for the first storm of the, tropical storm, the hurricane season. I think Agatha is down there. Shout out to WandaVision. I know Ken made the Doctor Strange, reference earlier on the week, but so far so good down here, just chilling. But I'm actually excited to talk about something that we don't get to talk about too often. It's my first love, and that is baseball.
Yes, come on, Agatha, trying to do a little something. It was raining today here in Baltimore, so maybe she's sprinkling and dabbling, whatever that word is, over here up north. But we do have a lot to talk about, a lot of sports to cover here today. Baseball being the first one. Tommy White out of NC State, the freshman phenom who broke the NCAA record for most home runs by a first year, is deciding to go anywhere other than Raleigh, North Carolina. He told Coach Avent. That's crazy, considering he was the talk of the town, and now he finds himself looking for a new church home. What's going on, Drizzy Drake?
So he is a Florida boy, and
Okay.
specifically, he is from the St. Petersburg area, which people know as Tampa, or I like to call it Trampa because I hate that city. But overall, that's a very strong, I guess, baseball town, baseball area. You see a lot of playing kids down there, and also there's a underrated school by the name of Stetson or FGCU, which is a little more down south, which is where Jacob DeGron's gone, Chris Sale's gone down there as well. And it's
Mhm.
from Tommy White. I mean, I think he's a player that probably honestly could have left probably back in high school, because people forget that for baseball, you can actually get drafted straight out of high school, but then once you head to the college ranks, you have to wait. I think I want to say it's for 2 seasons removed once you actually enter the baseball ranks for college. But with
Mm.
Tommy, I mean, he is a dynamite on the offensive end. He really is. I mean, basically a first baseman, third baseman by trade. He hitting 27 bombs his first year, which is the adjustment from high school baseball to college baseball is a huge jump, because
Mm.
now you're dealing with people with kids or somewhat young adults grown as men who throw a curveball or breaking ball or a slider with a lot more speed and a lot more movement. And the
Yeah.
fact that he hit 27 bombs and hit, I want to say 363, which is just, that's some golden spikes level stuff too when you actually break down the raw numbers. And right now, I know for a fact he's considering Florida. He also is considering Florida State too as well, and that's something that we desperately need, because if you watch FSU baseball, our pitching is elite. Our offense, nowhere close. Primarily
Yeah.
because the play discipline overall is piss poor to say the least.
Yeah, and they're one of the teams that didn't make it to the championship field, but they certainly would be in the conversation if Tommy White were to join the squad. And for those who don't know about college baseball, there's only about between 9 to 11 full scholarships. So there's 40 players on the roster. So it's like kind of like swimming, where you have to disperse. So if someone might get 30% scholarship, somebody might pay for your books and fees, somebody might get a full ride, but then everybody's looking at you like, why you got a full ride? And I sit here, barely can buy ramen noodles. So it could be a money issue. Maybe there's not an NIL deal conversation going on at NC State. Maybe, now that he does have a little bit more notoriety, a lot of people are having those, hey, come back to St. Pete. We can really get you broke off here and he'll be good to go. So there's a lot of conversation that I think, it's worth having, especially when we know everything is wheeling dealing around here in college athletics.
I mean, that's a really interesting point you bring in the money factor too, because from what I remember from last year, this is the second time that NC State baseball has lost a player to basically either leaving the program or not even entering. Last year, Khalil Watson, who was the number one recruit in their class coming in, actually decided not to actually sign his letter of intent with NC State because he was drafted 16th overall to the Miami Marlins. I got paid, I want to say $5 million. So
Mhm.
definitely it could be a monetary thing at NC State when it comes to baseball. And it just seems like the bad luck just continues to go on with this baseball team. They already were probably the biggest snub with the entire field out there because I can say it on here. I think this team was better than FSU, was better than some of the other AC teams actually went out there overall. And now Tommy White, like that's a kid that he's a stud. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a kid you put out there. You put him in the lineup and you're done. You pencil him in every single damn day. And
Yeah.
it's just really interesting to see basically where he's going to end up at. But he's going to come back down to the Sunshine State. But definitely, Tommy, if you need me, let me know. I can help you pack your bags, drive you to Tallahassee real quick. Trust me, I got you, bro. And like, listen, my aunt's a Miami Marlins, executive down, not executive. She works for the Miami Marlins, but I can definitely help you out, further down the road if you want to. Convenient, kidding, of course, but
You
listen,
missed you missed the most important part, being that you negotiate NIL deals, so you can really get him straight. So let's start there.
I mean, that's true. But I'm not gonna go. Listen. Let's get him in the state of Florida first, where we talk X's and O's and top T's and cross some I's. All right.
Honestly, I promise when Tommy listens to this show and he's like, "Man, I just finally have my in," is gonna just be my 2%. That's all I ask, Jersey Drake. Just
Listen,
know.
yeah, we got the finest people. We'll talk to Ken too. But yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah, we got you.
No doubt. So to recap for NC State folks, you had Jaquavion Smith decide that he's going to come back to school, which is a positive. You had Tommy White decided he's going to transfer, a little bit of a negative. Darion Sebron decided to stay in the NBA draft, which means you're losing one of your best players to me who was most explosive. It was time. So I think that's a little bit of a positive. You also have Alyssa Cunane who got signed by the Minnesota Lynx. So there are some positives there, right? The baseball team didn't make the championship field for the College World Series run, but mixed bag for NC State, I will say. But it's looking kind of dicey over here. They need some sort of joy. That's why I go back to. And I love Jersey Drake is here because all of these Florida State people in my damn comments can go somewhere. I really am not an NC State person. So I think it's hilarious when I find comments being like, maybe Candace is a hater. She loves NC State. Am I? Do I? Do I really? You obviously don't know me very well. And that's okay. I love that for
It's
me.
really funny to get called a hater because I get called a hater all the damn time. I don't even on our own damn show for our own damn team. Because it's funny because also when I'm on here, I mean, I gave Tyler Van Dyke all the hate in the world before the NC State game, and then I mean he shut me up, and you know what? I own
Boy.
that, and now I think we're pretty much hype him up because he deserves that.
Right,
But I
right.
mean, just basically we're just being critical of his teams because y'all ain't good. I mean, y'all are 4-16 in the conference. Like NC State fans, like you gotta understand that. And Keats, I mean, we discussed this I think a few weeks ago where his job is definitely on the line because what has he shown in the past few
Spicy.
seasons?
Yeah,
And
that
also,
hot seat is hot. Go
it's
ahead.
hot. It's hot as hell. And not only that, like Traquavion Smith, what's the real reason why he came back? I
Mm,
mean, we might find out. We might
ooh.
not. But we'll talk about that at a different time.
A little bird told me he ain't going to NC State. But anywho, let's talk about BetOnline. If I had to put my money on it, I would say Derquavion takes his talent somewhere else. But more importantly than that, I still have my sights set on NC State football winning the ACC championship. Don't let me down, Pack. But if you want to make that bet yourself or any other bet, you can go to betonline.net, the number one source for all of your betting stats and sports information needs. Find all the latest sports developments, news, odds, including this year's basketball championship matchup, the NHL Hockey Conference Finals, Major League Baseball, and of course, all of the latest fighting news from MMA and UFC to boxing. BetOnline is continued source for sports wagering information, live betting, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline is where the game starts. We have an important favor to ask you. We put together a survey so we can learn more about listeners like you and make your favorite Locked On podcast even better. This is your opportunity to tell us what you like, what you don't like about Locked On Podcast. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey right now to get started. It won't take very long, and everyone that completes the survey can qualify for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Ticketmaster gift cards. Okay, a lot of concert actions over there. To take your audience survey, go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey. Thank you so much for your help. Period, Pooh. Okay, wait a minute. Didn't say money was involved. So I think that Bandis Booper is about to go and do a little survey. Give Locked On ACC all the good reviews. Drizzy Drake of Locked On Seminoles might want to do that himself. So, Drizzy, just so you know, $100 on the line.
Ooh, all about money. That would be good. I got you.
100%. And then we're also talking basketball here a bit, but before I get into that, in the NBA championship, we're going to be recording this before the finals drop. But if you had to pick, who's it gonna be? The Celtics or the
It's
Warriors?
gonna be Golden State. I hate Boston. F Boston. I don't want to talk about that Max Strus callback three. I don't want to talk about the bums that are in Boston. I can't stand Boston. We're just gonna put it out the way. Give me Golden State in 5 because I'm not going up against
Ooh,
Steph, Clay, Draymond. Andrew Wiggins honestly might win MVP because it's never Steph for some reason, even though he deserves it every single damn series. So
I think that it's going to be the Warriors as well, only because of the championship pedigree. Like they've been there, they understand the emotions involved in it. They don't let themselves get too worked up. They don't let themselves get too like out of it. There's always a chance, especially when you have the Splash Brothers. But you're right, Andrew Wiggins has played some of his best basketball, and I think it's just going to keep going. Now, I will say, Jason Tatum on a mission and tunnel vision is a different dog.
he's good. When he's actually locked in and focused,
Yeah.
that man's no one to mess with. But like Jaylen Brown's really good, but you saw him disappear sometimes against the Heat. Horford, if he stays healthy, Marcus Smart,
Mm.
who did not deserve Defensive Player of the Year, in my personal opinion, it should have been It should have been Idris. Idris had a bio from the Miami Heat, but listen, Boston, they played a great series. They deserve to
Yeah.
be there, but Golden
Yeah.
State in 5 because I am never, ever, ever rooting for that damn team up north.
Boston is tough. Boston Celtics in general. The city is also tough. It doesn't give me very inclusive vibes. But you never know. I will say, I ain't gonna hold you. I am rooting for Nia Long. I just want her to. It's horrible. Nia Long happens to be the wife of Coach
Ime Udoka.
Udoka, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And I just
Oh, I
want
know
that.
that.
Well,
Oh,
they're
I
excuse
love
me.
Nia
Let
Long.
me
Trust me.
let me
Trust me.
clarify. Let me clarify. They're engaged. They're not married, and everyone needs to know the specificity of their relationship because we all care. But I want Nia's husband to go ahead and do the damn thing, okay? Because he
You know
fine. I
what?
ain't gonna hold you.
Yeah, she is.
Nia's beautiful.
She, I'm not even gonna lie, she is. But yeah, no, but like, trust me, yeah, that's a really good coaching staff. Like, on all seriousness, Brad Stevens, like,
Mhm.
he's basically doing a great thing, and Danny Ainge basically groomed them and also drafted all the right players, similar
Yeah.
to who I think is the greatest executive in the history of sports is Pat Riley. But that's just me.
That's true. I think this is it's gonna be an interesting matchup because the way it's not who I was expecting, but that may be better. Hopefully it's just a good conference finals either way. Because I'm tired of the whole blowouts on either side. Like that's kind of been a lackluster.
Yeah, that's why. And hockey playoffs think are better than NBA playoffs, but that's a discussion for a different day.
Oh, 1,000%. I'm so sad about my Hurricanes and the Rangers deciding that they were going to go whoop ass on game 7. Like, excuse me, Igor. I guess, if we're here,
Yeah, oof.
we have to.
That boy's
But
nice.
the Panthers were also the best team in the entire NHL. Okay. Okay, moving on. All right, back to basketball. Back to basketball. For those of you watching on YouTube, Drizzy Drake said, "No, I'm good on that." So we have got basketball to talk about. I mentioned that Jaquavion Smith is returning to NC State. Darion Seaburn decided to take his talents to the NBA. Some other players, notable players around the ACC, decided to take their talents to the NBA. Trevor Keels, who waited to the 11th hour to make the decision. I feel like we all knew. I don't know why he was so damn torn, but I guess that leaves nobody from the starting roster for Duke returning to the university. So that's crazy. Mark Williams, Paolo, Trevor, who else am I missing? Wendell, and my other guy. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, and not only that, they were expected to land AJ Green, the transfer, and he actually
AJ
stayed.
Griffin.
AJ
I'm glad
Griffin,
you,
thank you.
yeah.
AJ Griffin
Mhm.
too as well. So John Shire basically is going to be a new head coach with an entirely new roster of freshmen he's going to with, and that's
Yeah.
not fun, and that's going to be very difficult to adjust with that. And not
Growing
only that,
pains. Yes.
growing pains are a real damn thing, especially with college basketball. Trust me, FSU learned at the hard way with Matthew Cleveland, Jalen Warley coming in too, and Caleb Mills as well, who was a
Yeah.
little bit on the older side, but it takes a lot of time to gel from that. And then you see on the other side with another player where it was Isaiah Wong actually did decide to come back, which we
Hmm.
saw the whole NIL debacle from a month ago where he was kind of the first NIL holdout when it came to basically trying to get his life wallet money. When you see that the MSRP stock price has just plummeted since valuation. So we'll see actually how much of that money he really does get. But
Yeah.
it's a big pickup for Jim Larinaga and the Hurricanes because they did lose Cameron McGusty, who I
Hmm.
thought was probably one of the more dynamic players on that team. So
Yeah.
Isaiah Wong coming back is actually primarily it's pretty huge.
Yeah, and I think for Miami, like Cam McGusty, there was nothing else to do with the way that Miami had that incredible run in the NCAA tournament. To me, like lightning doesn't strike like that twice, so it was probably the best time the way they beat Auburn, it was like, all right, let's do this. You're on the biggest stage. You've done what you need to do. But for a Duke standpoint, as you mentioned, having Coach Shire being his first year where Coach Hubert Davis had a really good year going to national championship game. You want to talk about pressure, especially with a bunch of new kids who are still trying to figure it out. Like, how do they fit in the Duke legacy? And nobody wants to be the new guy who struggles, right? Everybody wants to be like, oh, we're picking up right where we left off. And it's one thing to be a great recruiter. It's a whole other thing to be an X's and O's guys and deal with adversity and deal with all the red tape that comes with being a head coach. And so I think that's where we'll see Ken Shire kind of handle the pressure.
And that's where you see kind of like in football, I think like Dabo's not the best X's and O's guy, but he is a phenomenal recruiter. Jimbo Fisher, I think now the game has kind of passed him by with X's and O's, but my guy over there is a damn good recruiter, regardless of how he's doing it or not. And with John Shire, it does help that he's bringing in the number one recruiting class in the country and like not only number one from quantity, but quality and quantity at the same damn time. But he also has to come after Coach K, who a lot of people are pegging, and I peg him as probably the best college basketball coach to live and play the game or coach the game. So that's already equal pressure. It will be hilarious though. Well, not hilarious, but kind of ironic more basically. If we see, I guess, John Shire and both Hubert Davis maybe potentially miss the tournament next season, if they do, I'm not saying it's going to happen. Who gets more of the, I guess, the blame, or who gets more of the spotlight put on them? Is it going to be Hubert, or is it going to be John Shire?
Yeah. And listen, at the end of the day, you always need to have someone who's really good at kissing babies. You always need to have someone who's really good at execution. And I think you got to have that right blend for the perfect coach. And so it'll be interesting to see how Shire kind of plays out for that. But let me tell you something right here, right now. If all these UNC boys came back to school and don't make the damn tournament or struggle this year and they don't go to the national championship game and win it, what are we doing? I almost cussed on the show. What are we doing? Where's your button when I need it? What are we doing?
I'm in the satellite office in Delray. That's why I'm on right now.
Why are you coming back if we're not here to win, boys? Like, I'm not. Don't get me emotionally involved, North Carolina, please. I'm not interested. Like, I've already had to like detach myself from football. Don't make me detach myself from basketball as well.
Oh, I'm not saying that's going to happen. It's more like because I think for this next season they're going to be compared the entire time, and I know
1,000%.
Especially even though Hubert had the great first season, it ended up falling short against Kansas. Basically, you were leading a half, and then Kansas, Bill Self, found a way to get basically coach up and down the floor. So to me, it's going to be very fascinating to see how these two are able to how is Hubert Davis supposed to be able to respond with everyone coming back. I think mine's Brady Manick, and then you have John Shire, who he should have super high expectations, even though he's coming in as his first year because of the recruiting class. I want to analyze and evaluate how both are kind of seen through the lens of media, through sports in general, because it's going to be, to me, they both need to succeed. To me, anything less than basically a Sweet 16 for John Shire is a failure. And then for Hubert, I think he needs to make a Final Four. I think Elite Eight, you can basically have a conversation, but I think Final Fours with the roster he has is something he should be able to do regardless of who left and who come back.
Facts. And if you don't give Shire the same scrutiny, I'm gonna call it like I see it. And I'm gonna tell you why. And it's gonna be very black and white. Take that for what you will. Now, Isaiah Wong returning is great. Trevor Keels deciding to go to the league, great for him. But just in the landscape of ACC college basketball, just to round out the conversation, I really feel like it's going to be just as, if not more, competitive. I mean, we saw Virginia Tech playing in the finals win the ACC, right? Who knew that was going to happen? But probably them, because they just struggled. They always had the senior leadership. They just didn't have the guys to maybe put the pieces together at all times. But it's up in the air to me. I think, like, if you look, Leonard Hamilton didn't go anywhere, right? His guys are getting a year older. Maybe they'll all find some gel and they'll all stay healthy. It's wide open spaces.
I think when it comes specifically to Florida State, because you're right, the ACC probably is wide open. It's probably the most wide open it's been in quite some time. With FSU, we need to see exactly who was going to be the leader on this team, because my boy Malik Osborne, aka the Garnet Goblin, he's gone. And he was the leader that basically was able to hold the team together, through the toughest times. When he was healthy, he was basically the most liked person on the floor. But now he's gone. Anthony Polite, the shooter, he's gone. John Butler, surprisingly, kept his name in the NBA draft, so now we're without our big, even though I think he's 7'1", 175 pounds. But he was someone that shot 35% from three and averaged 3 to 4 blocks a game. So where are you going to replace that? So we're bringing in a three-point shooter from UCF. We're bringing in another defensive player too as well, where now we need to see if these leaders can stand up, and we need to see if Matthew Cleveland can be the potential lottery pick that we know he can be, and if Cameron Fletcher can continue the 6th man of the year sort of accolade that we get from the ACC as a whole.
Absolutely. All right. So Now that we've had this conversation about basketball, let's round out the conversation with a little bit of football action. We know Mel Kiper gave his 2023 big board. He dropped that from ESPN Plus. If you haven't had the opportunity to take a look, there are a lot of, not a lot of, a few, but some good ones to remember here from the ACC. I believe there was Mr. Breesy up there from Clemson, probably the highest pick, highest ACC pick.
Yep, number 6.
I feel like he definitely should be in the conversation without a doubt. Him being as high as he is, just if you don't believe Clemson has the opportunity to come back and win this ACC, you're lying to yourself. As much as I talk like I want NC State to do it, they're going to have to go through some hurdles, and Clemson is going to be the number one hurdle, in my
And
opinion.
not only that, they also have Miles Murphy at number 17, defensive
Yeah.
end. People forget about him. He's not talked about as much as Brian Bresee. And then it rounds out top 25 with Trent Simpson at the outside linebacker spot, too, at 25. So
Hmm.
overall, Clemson with 3 spots on here, it just shows you how good this defense is.
Yeah.
And it's a main reason why, like, as much as DJU was not Big Cinco or was not good at all last year, this
Yeah.
defense is still pretty damn good. Now we need to
Yeah.
see if Brent Venables leaving kind of hampers them a little bit, but these are super
Yes.
talented players overall that you can't count them out. As much as basically I was saying last year, where Clemson might not be the same Clemson anymore after Ohio State game,
Yeah.
but that defense, they still got dogs on that team, man. Like
Yeah.
that's a great team.
And they do have, I mean, you have championship pedigree. You've built that. So you understand what it takes. You have people who've been around the block when it comes to championship mentality. To me, I really want to see how they do without Brett. I think that's going to be the biggest thing. Like, can they handle, or is it just going to be just, another day in the office? Kind of like how we talk about work all the time, right? You
Yeah.
leave and, everything, no, we just backfill your role and we keep things running. Can Clemson show us that they're like in Alabama where you don't blink? Everything's the same. Last year kind of was a smaller indication that there's some things, some kinks in the armor, but I think that was more offensively. But I'm telling you what, DJ better figure it out. He better figure it out this season, or he ain't gonna make the whole season.
Or yeah, Kelly Bryant. You should look at that as a case study. You got Kate
Yeah,
Klubnik right there waiting in the wings, and that kid's damn good. Like DJ has all the talent in the world. And we saw his first year
yeah,
that when he spelled Trevor Lawrence for a few games that he can play.
yeah,
So and I think he just needs to be more confident in himself because he's got the talent for that. And
absolutely.
and then Clemson, is not the only ACC team with multiple entries in the top 25. I
Please
know we don't
enlighten
claim
us.
them as much because they're basically the U up text in the middle of the night. But
Yeah.
Notre Dame has Michael Mayer at number 7.
I know, and I think that's another one where Michael Mayer's name has been floating around for a good bit now, and I think that Notre Dame with Coach, what is man's name? Freeman.
Marcus Freeman.
Yeah, how could I forget Marcus?
You
I
all
think
went
that
today, you know
Coach.
that?
I am truly. I think that Coach Freeman is, you saw in the bowl game, they struggled a little bit, but they fought hard in the end, coming up short against Oklahoma State. But I think that ultimately this is his team now, right? He gets to not necessarily have his players, but definitely has his mentality regime, all the things that he wants with Coach Kelly gone. And so I think that's going to be very evident how a defensive minded coach is really back in that building, and certainly going to be a positive side for Notre Dame.
And you also got Isaiah Foskey at number 19, outside linebacker, who
Yeah.
basically 11 sacks, 6 fumbles, 52 tackles. And then people forget they got the Northwestern transfer in Brandon Joseph, who was actually number 2 on Mel Kiper's safeties list. So Notre Dame is going to be a damn good defensive team.
Yeah.
Now we just got to see if Marcus Freeman can actually pick up where Jack Cohn left off, where he kind of surprised a little bit more, where he's a lot better than was at Wisconsin with either Taylor Buckner or Drew Pine. And then I know Miami fans are in the comments right now waiting. What about Tyler Van Dyke, folks? We know about Tyler Van Dyke. He's
Right.
ranked right now. I think he's number 3. He's number 12 actually, ahead of Anthony Richardson, the other Florida QB. And Tyler Van Dyke, I think this time last year where we thought he was going to leave. I mean, we thought it was
Yeah.
the De'Ara King show. We thought if
Yeah.
De'Ara King got benched, it would be the Jake Garcia, the freshman kid. But Tyler Van Dyke, he's got the size, he's got the arm. Now all we got to see is if he's able to push through and not suffer the sophomore slump that we've seen with other QBs.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that, as much as we talk about the Atlantic, the Coastal is going to be just as damn good. I think you have a really good Tyler Van Dyke and Cristobal, but you also have teams that are trying to get back to some sort of relevancy in terms of, Coach Prime, Virginia Tech. You've got Georgia Tech hanging on by a thread. Carolina, who, they've got a good defense. They brought back Coach Gene Chisnick, but who they have as quarterback, God only knows. And now we're just trying to say, hey, it's anybody's game. Virginia and Brendan Armstrong aren't going anywhere. Okay.
That kid's so good. I love Brennan Armstrong. That to me,
Like,
when AJ Block was doing his story, I was like, why the hell is Brennan Armstrong not higher on your list? I don't
listen,
know. Like,
Keaton Thompson is also no one to sniff at or
mhm.
sleep on. So I think that Virginia is gonna be really good, and Tony Elliott knows what it takes to get championships. And so, damn it, if he's not going to bring that energy to Virginia, stresses me out because I can't have Carolina suck, and I'm at peace with it though.
I mean, listen though. I mean, but at least you're having a fun QB battle. You got Jacoby Griswold over there. You got Drake May. Hey, listen. You never know what you have
And it
until they
could be
play.
a Jordan Travis competition, and so
Man, we know who our QB is. You don't. So don't even start with that again. We ain't doing this right now. All right. And also, JT13 is 2-0 against y'all. You
Come
want to
on,
go there with that?
JT
Come on,
13. Come on, it's not JT 13. He did give us the business. I ain't gonna hold you, but
twice.
I think it has more to do with Mac Brown and his inability to beat the Seminoles. I think there's just a curse over his head.
Hey, listen, we'll never know. All I know is JT13 is 2-0 against UNC. I'll just leave it. We can just leave it at that.
Period. Two. All right. Well, Drizzy Drake, it's always a pleasure to have you here on the show. We're gonna wrap things up here, but can you please remind these folks where they can find you, follow your work?
Y'all can follow me at tally__Drake. You can follow my coach at MaxMovie17. You can follow the whole entire podcast as a whole at Knowles Anonymous, where we basically engage with our fan base, or what we call mandatory mailbag Mondays. That's a kind of a callback to a famous mandatory makeup Mondays bar scene over in Tallahassee. Great time, great memories. But folks, as always, we're people first. We're fans first, people second, and content creators third. And go Golden State because F Boston.
Alrighty. Is there a nickname for Tallahassee? The way you gave Tramp a nickname?
I call Tallahassee, I think. You could do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tallahassee. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Makeout bars. That's very gross, but all right. In the land of COVID now, everything just feels like if you're touching me, it's gross. But
All
I
right, Klein
digress.
Costellos.
Guys, have a great and safe weekend. Make sure you come back. Again, I mentioned we are on a little bit of a new schedule in terms of 3 episodes a week, but they will be 3 quality episodes, not just me only, because clearly that is terrible. I've heard feedback. So we'll just get things rolling and make sure you guys come back. For Candace Cooper and Drizzy Drake, until next time.